You don't have. Okay. Oh. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our regular council meeting for Monday, April 27th. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 6:30. The town of Elk Point respectfully acknowledges we are located on Treaty 6 territory, the traditional and ancestral lands of the First Nations and Métis peoples, and we honor their enduring traditions, wisdom, and cultural strength in our community. We have a full house tonight. We do have a couple of delegations. Our first one is the Volunteer of the Year Award. So our Recreation and Communications Coordinator, Caitlin Bush, will start us off.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. I don't know if I should be sitting this way or this way. I don't know. Does anyone have a preference?
You can stand up here if you want.
Oh, gosh. Maybe. Okay. That could work. That could work.
Talk to your...
Okay, sure. Let's do that. Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for coming. I'm Caitlin Bush. I'm the Recreation and Communications Coordinator for the town of Elk Point. Since I've been in this role like 3 years ago, I've been trying to think of the best and most significant way that we can show our respect and pay our appreciation to the volunteers of the community that work tirelessly and selflessly and work together to really just make Elk Point the right place to be, right? Because volunteers is what makes a community. And I love Elk Point. In the last 3 years, I've definitely learned that the people and the programs really just makes Elk Point amazing. So I really wanted to put together this Volunteer of the Year contest so that we can pay attention to not just one overall volunteer, but all the volunteers in Elk Point that make it what it is. So we have been putting out a call out for nominations over the last few months for people to nominate some members in the community who they think deserve the title of Volunteer of the Year. And we had 6 nominations, quite fantastic for a community of Elk Point. So I'm just going to go over who has been nominated this evening. We have Brianne Greening nominated. You maybe want to, there you go. So I'm going Kelly. We have Crystal Boris. We have Ron Smith. We have Ruth Vogel. And we have Morris Irvine, 6 very significant members of the Elk Point community who work tirelessly all throughout the year. Over the last few weeks, we have had 3 community members be our judges, have taken all the information of all 6 of you guys to make their pick for who they think is the most deserving. Although let me add that you're all very deserving, and that should go without saying. Absolutely. So thank you to the 3 community members who were our judges this year. So the ultimate winner, the overall winner, the Volunteer of the Year, will receive a bag of goodies. We have a bag of goodies here, but also including in that bag of goodies is a Volunteer of the Year t-shirt and a Volunteer of the Year coffee mug, travel mug that they can wear and bring around the community proudly. Some Town of Elk Point swag. And then you also get to, you will be invited to attend many community events as a dignitary alongside our mayor, Miss Wanda Cochran. So she's going to be and council for sure. She's going to be inviting you throughout the year to attend all the events as a dignitary with her. So at the end of the ceremony, I do have gifts for all of the nominees. So before you leave, right after we make the announcement, make sure you see me for your gift. So I am actually going to pass the rest of this over to Wanda, who is going to make the overall announcement.
All right. Okay. First of all, I would like to start by congratulating all the nominees. Each and every one of you are very deserving of this recognition. You've all given your time, energy, and put your hearts into helping others and this community, and clearly your commitment has not gone unnoticed. It is because of people like you that this community is strong, Your generosity and willingness to help those around you is truly inspiring. Our volunteers are the heart of this community, and without you, our organizations, the user groups, the events we host, recreational facilities, and our community wouldn't be what they are today, and for that we are grateful. In a world where volunteering is becoming less and less, it is truly amazing to have you all here doing so much for our town and the surrounding area. So on behalf of the town and council, congratulations once again to each of you on your nomination, and thank you for doing all that you do. It is truly appreciated. So with that, I have a solo. All right, small font. Sorry, congratulations, you are the Volunteer of the Year. This is awarded to Ron Smith. What? No. You certainly don't. Congratulations, Ron.
Thank you.
You've put a lot of time and effort into this community over the last number of
Well,
decades.
there's many.
We appreciate that.
More than one person, for sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you everyone for coming, and you're all very deserving of this evening. Celebrate together.
You can sort of get it on the certain so we can.
Sure.
The friends over there to take a picture right by
With
one.
the mayor, for sure.
Wait, what?
Right underneath yellow. It's nice there too. Yeah.
Chairs, too. Really move the chair.
People sitting maybe.
Thank you for your volunteerism. Yeah, thank you. And I'll have you send me. I'm gonna do one, not just with your bed. Here, we'll get you. Oh, with your shirt? Here, let's put it.
Thank you for all what you guys do. I mean, I didn't stand.
Did you feel up to it?
Gotta get out of the way. Dave.
Stop.
I'm gonna breathe. That's that volunteering thing on the run. Well, thank you.
Yes.
Do. He didn't want to stay. All right. Well, that wraps up our first delegation. Can I get a motion to approve that presentation?
Make the motion to approve.
All in favor? That is carried. All right. The next delegation is from MNP LLP, partner Benji Lesser. Okay, thank you. He is our auditor. Before he proceeds, we do need to go down to new business, item B, the 2025 financial audit statements and request transfer of funds to reserve. That is on page 49. You want to go through that, Mir?
According to 2025 budget, we have some reserve. We have budgeted some reserve transfer that was not transfer until the retained earning is established, and now we are transferring those reserve as per budget recommendation and for the council's approval. Number is $73,000 to recreation restricted reserve from accumulated surplus, to transfer of $39,216 rescue van reserve from accumulated reserve, and transfer of $395,318 from equipment capital from fire pumper reserve to equipment capital reserve, because we bought that fire pumper from our grant money, and then we don't need that money, so we will move that money to town's equipment capital reserve. Then another 100,000 to another equipment capital reserve that was budgeted from the accumulated surplus, and finally $75,000 to fire pumper reserve from accumulated surplus as per previously recommended by the council in 2024.
Start building that back up again. Okay, does anybody have any questions regarding the transfers? Okay, with that, can I get them?
Just, we'll have to approve the agenda prior to being able to approve that item.
Oh, okay. And let me go back. Sorry.
Makes sense, yes.
Okay. Really jumping all over. Okay. Are there any, does anybody have any additional agenda? Any? Okay, seeing none, can I get a motion to approve the agenda? Okay. All in favor? It's carried. Okay, now we can go back to page 49. Now, get a motion to our recommendation on the RFD is recommendation number 3. Can I get a motion to accept or approve?
Make that motion to approve the reserve funds transfer as presented.
Okay, all in favor? That is carried. Okay. Now we can go back. Hey, Benji,
All right, my turn.
floor is yours.
Okay, great. Okay, so as mentioned, my name is Benji Wasser, partner at MNP. This is our second year doing the audit for the town. So what I'll be going through today is two different documents. I think you probably have them in your package. You're planning to just show them on paper or show them up on screen, but either way, I can kind of follow along with my paper copy. It sounds like we're going to be putting them up on screen, which is great. So I'll start with the financial statements themselves. So kind of going through the numbers first, and then after that, go through what we call our audit findings, which just kind of it gives us an opportunity to tell you what we found during the audit. Yeah. Perfect. So we just go to the first one right here. Perfect. So this is the management responsibility document. So this is essentially a piece of paper that the CAO signed, and it basically just outlines the roles and responsibilities of the different parties involved. In an audit process, there's generally three parties. There's management, there's council, and then there's us as the auditors. So this outlines the different responsibilities. So the first paragraph just talks about the fact that management is responsible for the financial statements. They're not our financial statements, obviously, they're yours. So management is responsible for preparing those and then having a good system of internal controls within the organization. Council is responsible for overseeing management in its performance of the financial reporting process. And then us as auditors are obviously here to do the final audit. So that's the management responsibility document that gets signed at the end. The next page is the one piece of paper here. I guess it's technically two pieces of paper, but it's the audit report that does belong to MNP. So this is our report that we put onto your financial statements, and just indicates, the timing and how what happened during the audit, essentially. So the first paragraph, it talks about the fact that we audited your financial statements December 31st, 2025, which is your most recent fiscal year. The second paragraph is the actual opinion itself. So I'll just kind of read the bulk of this one, and states that in our opinion, except for the effects of the matter described in the basis for qualified opinion section of our report, the accompanying financial statements present fairly in all material respects the consolidated financial position of the town at December 31st, 2025. So this year we do have what's called a qualified opinion. I know that council is aware of this, but I'll go through what that means in the next paragraph here. But essentially there is a qualification, meaning it's not a pure clean audit opinion. And the paragraph below kind of states what that, or the reason for that. And the reason is because, as you know, there are two GBEs of the town, government business enterprises. So those are the investment entities that hold an investment stake in an underlying limited partnership. And just, it's kind of a complicated accounting rule, but those GBEs have to follow what's called IFRS, International Financial Reporting Standards, which is, in my opinion, fairly ridiculous that a government in Canada has an entity underneath it, but they have to follow a different standard than the government itself. So under those IFRS rules, those International Financial Reporting Standards, those GBEs have to report their investment at fair market value. So as you know, one of the investments had a $500,000 investment and the other had a $10 investment. So those have to be valued each year based on it. If you kind of think about it as a stock, like if you buy TELUS share for $10, at the end of next year, it could be worth $12 or it could be worth $8. But somehow there's a value on that share. So what has to happen technically is we need a valuation of the underlying investment, which is that limited partnership. And that piece hadn't been done. So we don't really know as auditors what that investment is worth at the end of December 31st, 2025. So what happened was we just did this specific qualification to say it's recorded at essentially at cost. So your 500,000 minus the general annual fees is kind of what you're sitting at. So just give a picture of what the cost was, but it doesn't indicate if that value went up or down because we just don't have the audit evidence this year. So this can be removed, and that's going to have to be a council decision because there are definitely costs associated that aren't really audit costs. The audit costs are what they are, but there's an underlying valuation that would have to happen for that limited partnership, the underlying investment. to get a sense of what that investment is worth, whether the investment asset has to go up or down, depending on the value. And that would have to happen each year in order for that to kind of come off the books. The good news is doing it this way is cheaper for the town as well, because those underlying investment entities, we don't have to do as much work because we're just putting this qualification in. So there's savings to the town by doing it. The downside is you do have this qualification. So it doesn't impact anything town related. Like the town's books are in perfect condition. Everything is great. It's just that one investment. So that's the big ticket item for this year. The second paragraph in that same section just talks about the fact that we follow Canadian generally accepted auditing standards, which are the same standards everybody has to follow. In the responsibility section, it just kind of reiterates that same information from the first page, just stating that management is responsible for the financial statements and internal controls, and those charged with governance, which would be council in this case, are responsible for overseeing the financial reporting process at a high level. And second page, just again, another page that says we're here to do the audit. Okay, so then we get into, well, from my opinion anyways, the fun part, the numbers. So the financial statement of financial position, this is a snapshot at your year end. So there's the two columns, the bold one, 2025 at the top is what I'll call current year. That's up to December 31st, 2025. And then the comparatives, which would be December 31st, 2024, are right next to it. So you can kind of see where you fit from year to year at that point in time. So just kind of touching on some of the high points here. The top section is the financial assets section. So those are things that are cash or will become cash in the year or in a short period of time, or in the future, I should say. So cash is the bank account itself. So you've got $3.4 million up from 3.1, so about a $300,000 increase. In general, there's a cash flow statement that kind of gives a lot more detail on the cash ins and outs. But in general, you brought in about $880,000 from general operations, so revenues minus expenses. You did pay off about $375,000 worth of debt, and then also bought about $150,000 worth of tangible capital assets. So that's kind of how the cash flowed through the entity. Trade and accounts receivable, this is just the amounts owed to the town at the end of the year from other parties, except for residents and property tax ratepayers, because they have their own receivable line two down from that. Property taxes receivable, that's the same thing. That's the amount of money owed to the town from ratepayers, essentially. So you can see that the trade, it hasn't changed much, only about, less than 30,000, or about 30,000 from 350 to 380,000. That's just timing. There wasn't anything significantly different in there. Just when are you collecting the funds? Investments, that's about $20,000 more, and that's mainly made up of a couple of GICs. So the excess cash that you have in the bank is kind of set aside to get a little bit more interest, which is prudent because you don't want to just have everything sitting in a bank account and making zero or close to zero, when you can invest it a little bit if there's longer term needs for that cash. So that's good. I mentioned before property taxes. You can see this has actually gone up. It's about $90,000 more, sitting about $655,000. There is a note 3, which I'll touch on when we get to the notes, but you'll see the bigger difference is in the arrears. So the arrears is a little bit higher than the current. Just a bit of a lag in the collection time of the property taxes. So you'll see that specifically in the notes. Loans receivable, this is loans that the town has given out. So it's money that's going to be coming back. You can see that's gone up a little bit, about 30,000 to 280,000. Main difference for that is there was some doctor relocation loans that were provided to, I guess, entice people from coming. So that loan will get paid out over the remaining time period, whatever's indicated in the loan. And then the investment in GBE, which is government business entities, that's what I mentioned before. It's about 479,000. So that it kind of just goes down each year unless we do that valuation change. That's what that qualification is. Right now, it's only factoring in the reduction based on the small fees, the annual fees that are in there. So that'll just kind of keep going down unless we do a full valuation. Which then, if it turns out the limited partnership is very successful, then that investment will go up. If it's not successful, it would come down. So it totally depends on the market value of that. So overall, assets are up. Financial assets are up from 5.5 to just over 6 million, which is good. The next piece is the liability, so kind of the opposite of the asset side. This is what's owed to others or what you haven't earned yet. So the first one, bank indebtedness, there was none this year, so no draws on anything. Accounts payable and accrued liabilities, this is sitting at about 334,000, which is a decrease from the prior year. The biggest one here is, I'll get to this when I get to the audit findings, but we kind of found out about that policing accrual we were talking about earlier. The prior year one was recorded as an accrual in the books. This year we found out about it kind of late, so it's not actually in there, the accrual for it. So it'll show up in this current year. So there's a bit of a timing difference there. So the policing accrual is not included in the current year payables, but it is in the prior year payables. And that almost makes up that full difference from year to year. Deferred revenue, this is the carryover funds. I like to look at that as funds that you receive for a specific purpose. Could be grants, things that have external stipulations that you just haven't spent on the specific project yet. So they get carried over into the next year. So the biggest change here, you can see it's up quite a bit from 337 all the way up to 583,000, which is about $250,000 increase. When I go to look at that note, you'll see the biggest single balance that makes up that carry forward is the LGFF funds. That was about 503,000, I think, of the total of 583. So it makes up the bulk of that. So the LGFF money was received, but just hadn't yet been spent on the specific project yet. AROs, everybody's favorite. Well, not really, but asset retirement obligations. It's not new anymore. It's about the third year in. You can see that hasn't changed a ton. It has gone up a little bit, and that's basically just the accretion, which is another kind of word for inflation. So each year, time goes by, the cost goes up a little bit. If you were to fix all the contamination in buildings and things like that, it gets a little bit more expensive each year. So deposit liabilities, pretty small number. It looks like some were paid out in the year. You received some deposits and repaid some, so it's down about 24,000. Next one is a good news story, I guess. Your debt has gone down quite a bit from 486 to just under 120,000. So that's a significant amount of debt repayments, and there was no new debt taken out in the year. The total liability is 1.6 million compared to 1.8. So liabilities are down, assets are up, liabilities are down. So your net financial assets, which is the difference between the two, is up quite a bit, actually, from 3.6 all the way up to 4.3. So that's good. And then we get into the non-financial assets. So these are different than the financial assets above. And basically it's biggest thing is the tangible capital assets, which is infrastructure, right? Building we're sitting in, could be heavy, it could be equipment, computer systems, servers, that kind of thing. Anything that's kind of bigger and it's going to last longer than a year. That's what is made up of, or makes up the tangible capital assets. You can see that it went from 21.5 down to 20,800,000. Decrease of about 700,000. The reason for that is there were additions in the year, the biggest one of which being sewer line work in the year. That was about 150,000. And then some other various, I think of blower motor and some other like smaller ticket items. But overall, there was about 195,000 of total additions in the year. And you might be thinking, well, if we added to it, why is the number going down? That's because there was amortization in the year. So as you know, every time a year passes, your assets depreciate a little bit. So that was about 890,000 of just depreciation. But again, that's not a cash expense, paying anybody. It's just accounting, right? Depreciates in value. So your assets decrease in value a little bit each year. Prepaids have gone up. That's kind of doubled, I guess, from 26 to 52,000. I think the biggest thing in there, when I looked at it, was a security deposit for a medical clinic. So that's a prepaid. You're paying for a deposit for future years. So that was the bigger ticket item there. And then your land held for resale hasn't changed. There haven't been any sales that we knew about for the land that you guys hold. So that's 317,000. So the overall at the very bottom, that's what we call the accumulated surplus. And that's what Mir was talking about when he was talking about that reserve transfers. There's a schedule that breaks down the different categories. So the unrestricted, the reserves, and then the equity and capital assets, which I'll touch on. But that 25 million is sort of the overall size of the all assets minus all liabilities. Okay, so onto the next page. This is the statement of operations. The first thing that you'll notice that's different here, he's got the budget, right? Because this is revenues and expenses. So this is what you would have budgeted for, and then we can kind of compare how you did to the budget. Most of the items are actually pretty darn close, like property taxes, you'll see is really close to the budget, just slightly higher. Similarly with user charges, 1.3 million actuals, $1.3 million budget, so very close. Government transfers, this is the grants for operating. It's about 130,000 less than the budget. So there's just less of the grants used than you had anticipated from an operational perspective. Franchise and concession contracts, that's up about 15,000. I think there was just more resident power and gas usage than was kind of expected. So the costs were a little bit higher. Penalties, both penalties and interest on taxes, as well as investment income. This is pretty common. I see it across lots of municipalities, but you kind of budget low because you don't know exactly what it's going to be, and you don't want to go budget on the high side because then you want to be unpleasantly surprised. So it's better to go this way, budget a little bit conservatively and then get more after. Then it's kind of like I said, a pleasant surprise. You have a little bit more cash. So those budgets are a little bit conservative based on the prior year as well. So you did receive more penalties and interest on taxes and investment income than budget. Rental income, everything else is actually pretty darn close to the budget and getting pretty small. So nothing to write home about there. But overall, you can see your total revenue, 4.4 million, total budget, 4.4 million. So pretty darn good budgeting. It's pretty much bang on. The next section here is the expense side, and it's based on each sort of department instead of by expense type. So general government and legislative is really close to budget, 730 compared to 750, so really close there. Protective services, this one is a little bit under budget, about 155,000 less than what you were expecting to pay. And I think in this one, there was just some less payroll and less legal costs than you were kind of expecting in that department. Transportation is very close, 1.1 million. Water and wastewater, again, that's pretty darn close too, both 1.5. And then the next two, there is a little bit of difference, but not much. Parks and Rec, it's about $50,000 under budget. And I think the reason we had here is there was some reduced park use, so there's less expenses around that. The biggest change here that you'll notice is the next one, planning and development, is about 340,000 under budget. And I think the biggest one here is that there was 220,000 that was not transferred to the senior housing. I think it was kind of postponed to the next year. So you had budgeted to do that transfer, but it didn't happen. So that's by far the biggest reason for the change there. So then we get revenues minus expenses before sort of the other stuff. It does have a deficit, but that's pretty normal because you have other revenues coming in underneath that, which I'll talk about now. Biggest one being your government transfers for capital. So this is your capital grants. And you can see that the budget was about 599, sorry, and the actual was 270. So about $330,000 under budget. And this one's tricky because you always kind of budget for a lot of different capital projects, but they might not all happen in the year you budget. So this is pretty typical that this will have a much higher budget than the actuals. Some of the projects that you would have budgeted for that weren't fully completed would be sewer lines, and solar lights, medical, fire pumpers, related costs. So those are things that were budgeted all in one year, but they're carried over to next year. So that's sort of the revenues and expenses. And then I guess you can see at the very bottom, accumulated surplus is that 25 million again. So both of those pages kind of balance to the same number. So those are the most comprehensive schedules. The rest I'm just going to touch on and kind of go through, kind of let you know what they are, but not really spend much time. So the first one is a statement of changes in net financial assets. This is the same number that I showed you on the first page where it was financial assets minus financial liabilities, that 4.3. This is just another way of calculating that same number. A public sector required schedule, in my opinion, doesn't have much value. Next one is a little bit unique though, is the cash flow statement. I did touch on this before. So we do have some cash coming in, like about $900,000 $882,000 from operations, and then about 150,000 being purchased on tangible capital assets, and then the financing in the middle is your debt repayments. So overall, those are the big ticket items. There's a little bit of investing, so you do have some loans receivable money coming in and things like that, about 50,000. So it's a different way of looking at the same numbers. So the next page, though, I think this is an important one, and this is where I have to say that this will change actually, because the stuff that was just approved that Amir had mentioned around the reserve transfers are not factored into this yet, because now they're approved. So what we'll hopefully do is just get the financial statements approved pending that one change. And then we'll move all those reserve transfers that Amir was talking about into this schedule. So right now it's only showing 140,000. But when I did some quick math here after Amir gave this to me, and it's another 287,000 of transfers. So it will move, that 140,000 will grow by 287,000, which will mean your total reserves, total restricted surplus is sitting at 2.1. It will end up being 2.38 for total reserves. And then the unrestricted surplus will go down by the 287. You're just basically moving the unrestricted into your reserves. And I did want to say on this one, the unrestricted surplus, yeah, you have total leeway to do it as you wish as council. So you could set aside even significantly more than that if you needed to set it up for something specific in the future. Right now, the bulk of the excess surplus is just sitting kind of in unrestricted, and that's up to council. So the number I haven't talked about yet is your equity and tangible capital assets, that 20 million. That is the bulk of any municipality's, I guess, size would be tied up in your infrastructure. So I always like to kind of give the example. The equity in TCA is kind of like your mortgage. If you have a $400,000 house, you owe $300,000 on it. You have equity of 100,000. That's what this is saying. You have your total assets minus the debts against it. So debentures and asset retirement obligations gives you your equity. It's just same as your home equity personally. Okay, that's that schedule.
Benji,
Yes.
why is amortization included when it's not really a cash? Like the unrestricted surplus, why? It's not like value, like it's not actual cash.
Nope, you're correct. Exactly right. It is an accounting requirement to show the depreciation of your assets. I mean, probably the best way to say why do we even have it is, let's say you buy, I don't know, what's a grader for $1 million, expensive grader. I mean, I think it is expensive grader for $1 million. So you have a grant that grader, say, they give you $1 million. You show, if you buy the grader, it comes into revenue. So you've got $1 million of revenue, but you don't have an expense. You have a capital asset. So now you've got a surplus of $1 million in that first year. The amortization is what brings it into income over the life of the grader. So if it's going to last 10 years, you'd have amortization of 100,000 each year. So you have an expense of 100,000 at the end of 10 years. Now that's fully depreciated. You've used up those that grant.
Okay.
If you don't have amortization, you'd always have this giant surplus, and you're not allowed to expense a grader. So that's how it kind of comes into income over time. Yeah. Next one is Schedule 2. I'm not going to touch on this. It's just a breakdown of the tangible capital assets. So it shows kind of what categories you have additions in, which I already talked about. Next one is your property tax details. So this one I like to just mention because, as you know, the amount of property taxes that the ratepayers are paying is 2.6 million, but you only get to keep 2 million because the other 555,000 isn't even part of the town. You're kind of debt collector for others, right? So the province and St. Paul Foundation. So it's just good to know that the full amount of property taxes is not just going to the town, it's on behalf of others. Next page, a little more detail on the government transfers, which I talked about already, which is the operating at the top, capital at the bottom, just splits it into provincial, federal, and local grants. Schedule 5 is your schedule of expenses by object. So the first, or I guess the second schedule I showed you was the statement of operations, and it showed all the expenses by function or department. This breaks those exact same expenses down into the expense type categories. So payroll at the top, that kind of thing. So really the only real big difference is the contracted services is quite a bit under budget. And the reason is a lot of the same reasons I mentioned on the previous schedule. So, but overall, this is just a different way of looking at the expenses. And then the next page is actually a lot more detail it kind of jams the two different types together. So you've got the departments along the top and then the types of expenses and revenues along the side. So it gives a lot more information, a lot more detail on where the spending and where the revenue is coming in by department. Again, same information, just look a different way of looking at it. Then we get into the notes to the financials. The first number of pages are the standard accounting policies. So they're going to look pretty much the same for any municipality. So I kind of skip over those. I'll touch on the ones that I think are more important to note. Probably the first one, it's all the way on note 6 actually, which is page 17. A lot of policies. So this one, I like to mention note 6 because it talks about your operating line of credit. Just the fact that you have access to it. So you have $950,000 access to line of credit. And this year you didn't draw any on it, but it's just nice to know that it is there and available if you do need it. Next one here is, I want to look on, the deferred revenue right there. So I already talked about this, but here you can really see that the LGFF, the second row, if you look all the way across to the right, 503,000 is the total carry forward. So that's by far the biggest one that you have that's carrying over to next year. Next page, this one, long-term debt, just wanted to show you the details here. You do have the water reservoir, debenture related to that is about 119,000 left. So that actually will be paid off in 2026, which is great. The other one, commercial mortgage, that was fully paid off in 2025. So you're almost down to no debt within the town. And then speaking of debt, the debt limit here says, well, you've got about 136. So it doesn't really match. You see 136 here, but 119 above. And but you can see in brackets, there is a loan guarantee that you have. So because you're guaranteeing a different loan, it does kind of come into the calculation, but still it's very small. You have access to another $6.5 million of debenture debt, should you so choose. So you're definitely nowhere near your debt limit. The next one, note 12, I had this one highlighted, but I don't know if it makes sense to go through this because a lot of these numbers are going to change based on the new reserves that have just been passed today. So this theoretically would give you a sense of where each of the reserve balances are at the end of the day. But like I said, this note will change. So I'll take this back and update based on the reserve transfers here. So this will then match up with the revised numbers. Note 15 is the next one. I like to point this one out just because it, has your names on there, just so you're aware that this is a required note to make sure that everybody's comfortable that it's there and it's a requirement. And then I guess lastly, next page, commitments. So this one I just like to point out too, because it's not a number that shows up in your financial statements anywhere, but you are committed at some point in the future to 15-year agreement related to future medical clinic. So when that's kind of completed, that will be the annual lease payments for that. And then down below, on the contractual obligations, there are a few more. This $35,000 annually, it's related to Water for Life grant. So basically, this is your share. This is the 80% share. I think the total is, if you add up everything for the other party, it's $40,000, I think, a year, something like that. But your share is 35 over that number of years. That's it for the financials. Pretty clean. So any questions about the financial statements before moving on to the audit findings?
I guess just for clarification myself, just the verbiage, LGFF.
Local government fiscal framework.
Fiscal framework. I always forget that.
At least the MSI.
Yeah,
First step.
MSI.
Yeah.
thank you. That makes more.
MSI. I know. Okay, so the next one is our audit findings. So again, this just outlines sort of things to bring to your attention, not related to numbers themselves. So that's correct. Oh. Okay, so just on to the next page where it talks about the engagement status. So where are we today? So essentially, today's the date of the report date, anticipated date of approval, assuming that happens after this. So we're pretty much done the audit. A couple of things we have to do, obviously get the financial statements approved, get some signatures, which I have a copy of a bunch of things here to sign. And then finally do a discussion around subsequent events. So if you remember from last year, I would have asked the same question, but we're required to ask if you're aware of anything that's happened since your year end, December 31st until today, that could impact the financial statements. So just ask that. If anybody is aware of anything. Oh, good. That's a good answer. Okay, good. So nothing has changed. That's great. The audit report itself. So the report date will be April 27th, which is today. We do have that qualified opinion, which I talked about a little bit, just related to the fair value of the underlying investment. But we talked about that at length, so we're good there. Next page, this is just talking about changes from the service plan. So we always have to disclose if there's been any kind of changes to our plan. So we did change around some of the risks a little bit based on when we kind of got going. Because initially when we send out the audit service plan, it's before we've seen anything and just kind of a guess as to what we're doing. So we did change some of the risks based on what we were seeing in the audit. It didn't really affect anything. A couple more tests on our end doesn't cost anything more for you or anything like that. Just rejig which samples we're choosing. So there were some changes to the risk levels, but again, no major impact on anything. We were satisfactorily completed everything, so that was good. Our materiality was 220, which was kind of what we expected it to be, and that's just a percentage of your total revenue. It allows us to.
Can I just go back?
Yes.
For the changes from the
Yeah.
audit service plan? Because it was kind of a red flag when it went from moderate to high risk.
There's low, moderate, and high.
Yeah.
So it's just like one step up. And most cases, it's just when we're looking at it, if we found like a small cutoff error, we have to change the risk level to do more testing. So
Okay.
we would have done, if we found a small thing, we would have tested a little bit more, and then it's not a big deal. So that's why we change it
Okay.
so we did. The one that surprised me is actually, we might have just messed it up initially and put salaries and benefits disclosure as low initially. We have that as high on every municipality, just because your names are on there. We want to make sure it's right. It's not like a material problem,
Okay.
but I think we just maybe accidentally put it at low initially, because on every municipality, it's always high,
Okay.
just because we want to make sure it's accurate.
Because usually if something's high risk, it's like, what's
Yeah.
going wrong?
Yeah, exactly. So no, we didn't find anything, and you'll find out when we get to our control deficiency section that it's nothing. So
Okay, thank you.
that's good. We did not find anything around fraud. There was nothing that came to our attention around non-compliance with laws and regulations. No issues around related parties. I mean, we do have the investment item that would have the qualification for, but that's kind of a different thing, but no related party issues. On the next page, the accounting estimates and policies were all appropriate and consistently applied. The disclosures, so that the 10 pages of all the notes, I didn't go through all of them, but that's all correct. There was no actual significant deficiencies in internal controls. We have some minor little things that we brought to management's attention through our management letter, but nothing that would require council, knowledge or anything. It's just minor things to tweak. But yeah, no significant deficiencies, which is great. What else do we have? Oh, the significant risk areas. So the risk areas, we have management override of internal controls. That's the standard one for any organization. Just if management can bypass controls, we want to make sure that there's no loopholes and things. Accounts payable, so looking at the cutoff of expenses. Disclosure of salaries and benefits. That's what I said before. That one is always a significant risk for us. And then finally, tangible capital assets. TCAs are one of your biggest items. So we want to make sure that additions and things are treated appropriately. Auditor independence. We are independent. Nothing has changed in that regard. So we can do the audit. Management representation is that one of the documents that gets signed. Basically, Mir says on that letter to us that he's given us everything we've asked for, which is standard. And then the summary of significant differences is our journal entries that we've proposed, or the unadjusted differences, which are on the next page. So the adjusted differences is this page. This one, I'm not going to go through in too much detail. These are just year-end adjustments that either came through us or through management, and these are all posted. So these adjustments are not, unique. Those are already incorporated into the financial statements. It's just for your information. It's the next page that I like to go through because these are the ones that are not posted. These are our unadjusted differences. So you might think as a council, well, materiality is 220,000. That's a pretty big number for us. We would care if there was something wrong that was under that number, right? So I always like to say, well, if we do find something that's wrong under that threshold, we bring it to your attention here. So it's not material, so we don't have to record it in the books because it's a timing thing. It's not worth recording, that kind of thing. But we do always bring it to your attention here. So the first one is just a potential because we didn't have, there was some unapproved expenditures being applied against a grant. So that approval could come later. We just don't know. We didn't have it officially at that time. So the revenue recognition could be off by about 34,000. And then I mentioned this before, but the policing accrual, we only, I think, got that information very late in the audit. So it didn't make sense to go and change everything. At 54,000, it's not like it's wrong or missed. It's going to show up. It's just in next year. It's just 1 year off. And the uncorrected, it would have been the same stuff on the schedule from last year. So it kind of shows up one more year as kind of the opposite. It kind of offsets. So we end up with $70,000 total kind of net change that could have happened if we were to post all these things. So it's not huge. And it's just mostly timing things. So all in all, pretty clean. That's all I have officially.
Good. Does anybody have any questions for Benji?
Pretty straightforward, and it's good to see that secondary opinion of our budget that we just went through. So
Absolutely. Perfect. All right. Well, I thank you, Benji, for your time. Can I get a motion to accept the presentation? All in favor?
I don't know how you want to, do you want me to leave them here and you scan it, send it back, or do you want to just sign it?
Yeah.
Scan it, send it back. I do have the small ones, the GBI and Epic as well for signatures, just to get those little guys wrapped up as well. So they're kind of here in two separate packages here.
Perfect. Yeah, we'll get those signed and sent back to you.
Yeah, so I guess the next step then, those get signed. I'll make the quick changes to the reserve, both the schedule and then that one note, all the details. And put the signatures in, then it's complete, and then I can file with municipal affairs. They need to post the financial information return, which is basically the financial statements in an Excel format that the province gets, and then the financials. So that's due at the end of this week, but we have more than enough time as long as you get me the signatures and put her together, and I'll probably get it sent off tomorrow or the next day.
Yeah, by tomorrow, before noon,
Okay, great. And then we'll be done for another year.
Perfect. Thank you. That's it for me. Travel safe.
See you again.
Thank you, sir.
You bet.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Safe travels.
Glad you guys picked the non-boiler gate.
It's always an issue.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right, now we can get into our regular agenda. So we're going to look for approval of the April 13th, 2026 regular council meeting minutes.
I'll move the minutes as presented.
Just a moment. I did.
He found some.
Did I mark the page? Yes, I did. On page 4 of the agenda, moved by Councillor Borst that the October 2025 finances be approved. I think it should have been December. So. That's it. So now you can go ahead, Dwayne.
Okay.
Lane as amended. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that is carried. Okay, approval of the April 20th, 2026 special council meeting.
I can make that motion to accept as presented.
Tim. All in favor? It's carried. Unfinished business. Okay, resolution number 26-119, policy 6-7-26, community engagement and event support policy and procedures. Changes?
These red lines are changes. So
Yeah, the administration made changes as what you had recommended at the last meeting.
Yeah.
So just noted in the RFP that we have made these changes. And I believe they are in red.
They are.
Looks good to me.
Any other questions or comments? No? Okay.
I can move.
Approve. All in favor? That is carried. Okay. Resolution number 26-43, rural renewal stream designation renewal. Go ahead, Mayor.
this was the renewal for the regional basis, and we in February 9th, 2026, we approved in the council meeting that it was we let them expire, but as a regional member of the this four municipality, we have no choice but to go with them. We need to renew for this. We don't have any financial liabilities, and they requested, the region requested from us to go for renewal so that they could carry forward.
If I remember, you spoke against that. Yes, so what we did was we put it up for each community to decide. So as the region, both St. Paul County and St. Paul, Town of St. Paul agreed to go with it. We chose not to, but then because we're part of STEP and the whole group, they asked if we would look at reconsidering or if we wanted to pull on how it work. But we do have 3 individuals in town that are involved in it right now, previous applications. So to walk away from that, I mean, it's going ahead anyway. It's not causing us any extra monies or doing anything. There is if you go back, there is a new protocol now on what happens within it, the rural renewal stream. It's a lot more complicated, and basically we're just accepting and putting forward names that have already been within the system in the majority of the time. And then going forward, we'll see how much it applies, but it doesn't affect us. It's basically just supporting those businesses that are here and the people that are involved in it, that we would be still maintaining and helping.
We were kind of expecting the other two to follow the same suit as us, I believe.
St. Paul, Town of St. Paul was, they have the most, the most desire, or not desire for it, but yeah, it's use for it, because there's a lot of businesses there that do use that rural renewal stream. St. Paul, I think the county, I think going in, they weren't sure, but then I think in order to support the region, they chose to go with it. So for us, again, it's going ahead anyway.
Yeah.
So if it's going ahead anyway, I guess my suggestion would be is not to punish
Yeah.
the
Yeah, I
people that are within the system now if it's going ahead.
Yeah. It costs us nothing and
Exactly.
it hurt them too.
And you had said that we have 3 businesses participating. Is there opportunity for more? Or do we have to stay at that?
I believe there's opportunity for more because we are opting into it
Do it
again.
again? Okay.
So it is there, but again, the stipulations and how to get into it and what they're taking as far as even as some of the stipulations we have now is that you have to be in province already. We're not looking to bring in anybody else. It's if you're here and you're in Alberta and you're ready to work, we'll support it. And otherwise, we're probably not looking at it.
Was that something changed on because I know we talked about
On the
that.
step side or whatever the designation.
Okay.
So you'd recommend Yeah, it's because of the way it is. I think that was our opinion, was to step away from it because of the complication of it. So I think we're not wrong in what our suggestion was. But due to the fact that our partners are both involved in it and moving ahead, again, it doesn't cost us any money. It's just there. So for those couple or few individuals that are here in town or that are requiring the services, we're there to still support them in that aspect.
All right, so then we have 5 alternatives. Directed by council, receive as information, that we rescind our original resolution. And council direct administration.
So do we have to send it and then also make a
Yeah,
I think number 3, if you can.
send first and then,
And then passing a vote and stating whether or not we want to participate. And or if we just want to support, because what was informed to me through STEP was that as the
Either or.
rules had changed, if we apply as a region, we have to go as a region. Not one person can opt out of that application. So that's why STEP reached out to us and told me that. And she said that we don't necessarily have to participate, but there are 3 businesses that are interested in it.
okay,
So then we would have to go with 3 and then 4, perhaps do 2 motions.
But that'd be up to, I guess, a recommendation on 10,
Yeah, so I would rescind, I would have to rescind that.
but between 4 and 5, you would still want to participate?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Okay, I can make a motion for number 3.
and okay. All in favor of rescinding? That is carried.
and I can make motion for recommendation number 4.
Okay, so we'll participate then in the rural renewal stream. Okay, all in favor to participate? It's carried. Okay. Okay, bylaws and policy. Bylaw 2026 mill rate bylaw.
As the council approved the budget on April 20th, this bylaw is presented. According to that bylaw, we had a requirement of operating expenses. We had in our budget, we had a operating expense of 1,984,681 and principal debt payment 137,658. We also have school requisition 450,116 and DI property requisition $288 and MD Foundation requisition $87,827. And total taxable assessment base as required by our contracted assessor for the province was 182. Total taxable assessment base was 182,594,800. And based on those assessment, we have calculated our tax rate for residential and farmland at 2% increase from previous years. The current rate would be 11.0062 mil. And non-residential linear and equipment all had 24.2843 mil, and non-residential vacant will have 26.8155 mil. Using those mil, our total amount to raise by the general municipal taxation is $2,122,399. Yeah, can achieve those that revenue generation with those rate I just mentioned. And plus we have to raise taxes for school foundation, residential and farmland of 283,617 and non-residential 166,499. And the same designated industrial property requisition is $288, and senior foundation 87,827. Our assessment for that 142,594,800 I mentioned is laid out by this distribution for residential, provincial residential yield, non-residential vacant, linear, and machinery equipment.
What is the designated industrial property? 288.
Designated industrial property, actually province does assessment for those industrial property, which are mostly linear. We don't have big
Oh, okay.
big industrial property, like if we have a oil field, then they also assess those property. And for that service, they requisite for $288 from those property.
Okay. Okay. Right.
And for school requisition, we use our rate that is little different from what actually in their rate in their requisition intent letter, because we come very close to the $450,000, $116.
Okay.
And we are using those rate, we are just $2 over for their requirement, above their requirement. And the same thing, there is no change in the industrial property. It is $288, but up to $1,000 we tax the industrial property, we don't have to pay at all. Then we keep that $288 with us.
Okay,
And that 87,838 that requisited by the MD Foundation, we use our rate rounded up to 0.616 bill. And this gives us a $11 overage, which actually our requisition was, our collection would be 87,838 and our requisition was 87,827, which is $11. And with this tax revenue, will make our budget balance.
okay. Sounds good. Any questions regarding the mill rate bylaw? Can I get a motion for first reading?
I can make the motion for first reading.
All in favor? It's carried. A motion for second reading. All in favor? Can I get a motion for unanimous consent and to proceed to third?
I can make that motion.
I'll make the motion for third and final reading.
I said I could if you want.
Oh, you did unanimous consent.
Sorry.
Are we all in favor of yours?
Yep.
We did? Let's do it again, just in case. All in favor? Okay, carried. All right, and I'll make a motion for third and final. All in favor? This carried. All right. Okay. Okay, moving on to new business. Volunteer of the Year Award presentation. Kind of a nice presentation. Nice to see all the nominees come in. Can I get a motion to receive as information?
Make that motion.
All in favor? Okay. We've done B, right? Okay, so the local link.
Did we approve the finance? Oh, yeah, we
We did, because we had to do that before Benji's presentation to.
Yeah.
Okay. There's no RFD or anything for this. This is just to,
She's just, know that there are 20 locations for the local link. Working really hard on them today, folding them and stapling them. So she's just giving you an update on how it's going and we'll be going out May 1st. So looks like we're right on time.
perfect. All right. Can I get a motion to receive that as information?
I can make that motion.
All in favor? Carried. The Recreation and Parks Association. I think I went too far. Do you want to go through that here?
Yeah, this request is to approve member of council to virtually attend Alberta Recreation and Park Association webinar. Tourism to come to town, municipally elected officials on May 14th. 2026. And it is from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. And council may approve that the member of council attend the Alberta Recreation Park Association of Tourism is coming into town for municipal elected officials on May 14, 2026.
Okay. Is there anybody that has contemplated trying to take it?
Actually, I wouldn't mind sitting in on that one.
Yeah.
Seems might be something useful for our corner of the world.
Okay. Okay, when do they have to be registered by?
I think we have to. Up to the.
May 14 p.m.
Okay, all right.
1 week before.
So can I get a motion that council approve any member?
I can make a motion to approve a member to attend
Okay.
Alberta Recreation and Arts Association webinar.
All right. That way, if anybody else wants to attend as well, if they can. All in favor? That is carried. Okay. Late Chief Administrative Officer Funeral Service.
We already council members has attended those that funeral service, and there are some expense related to that, though very minor. Just and to attend the council members in the funeral service need approval by the council.
Okay. Okay, so can I get a motion to approve the attendance? All in favor? Carried. Okay, Lee Park Rodeo Association.
Lee Park Rodeo Association asking for sponsorship of $100 for their event happening on June 5th to 7th, 2026. And administration received a request a sponsorship from Lee Park Rodeo Association on April 20th. They are requesting amount of $100, and they have asked in the year before, and council has accepted their request for the same amount for 2023, 2024, and 2025.
I will make a motion, we continue supporting them for $100.
All in favor? (2026) Recreation Area Maintenance Agreement.
This is the area maintenance agreement between the town and the golf course. The golf course maintain the space. The
Site in the washrooms and
for the
Camping.
camping and the soccer field.
Yep.
And it is nothing change, as just the renewal. Or do we agree to make it for 3 years instead of 1 year? Okay, then we are going for 1 year. Every year we are doing the same
okay.
Agreement. I thought that we can go for 3 years because we are not so that we don't have to do every year.
Okay.
But anyway, they didn't respond to that. We are going for 1 year. This
Okay,
time.
so we can do it for the 1 year and then before next year, maybe reach out to them and.
Yeah.
Because I know we did discuss it at one of the golf course meetings too, so I
Okay.
can definitely bring that up, so. Okay, so if there's no changes, can I get a motion to receive the 2026 recreation area maintenance agreement for? All in favor? Great. Okay, town-wide spring clean.
Administration request council to approve a date for the townwide cleanup this year. I appoint 4 town councillors to serve barbecue and appoint judge for cleanup competition. Further, that the council approve donation of promotional item for cleanup. We have communicated with the FG Miller High School and Elk Point School. They approach to merge their spring clean up with the town. And because May 14th is their PD day, they agreed to do it on May 13th.
So long weekend is that weekend, okay. Makes sense now.
No, May 13th is not long weekend. Following weekend is the
That's long weekend.
long, it's
So they had
May 18th.
PD day.
They have PD day, yes.
Yeah.
Now I see it's starting at 12.
For the schools.
For the schools.
That part is, yeah.
Yeah. So Sean and I'll be cooking burgers early.
What time is the lunch?
I believe two. Yeah.
Keep her to school and then,
At
yeah,
least 2
kind of
o'clock.
upper portion is stuff.
No, it's gonna be down at the library, so the barbecues and stuff will be down at the library. I'm glad I read this, because in my head, I was gonna be up at the school.
Yeah, that's what first discussed actually.
So yeah, both barbecues will be done with the library. And Jay's gonna be the judge. Okay.
Yeah, no filling up water bottles from drainage puddles for weight.
All right. Okay, so we're looking for recommendation that council direct administration to advertise the townwide cleanup, which I think we've already started.
And there is expenses, small amount of expenses around $100. The price,
Price for the afternoon and the evening, is that what they're doing?
yeah.
Okay. Okay. We can do all 3 of them in one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sean?
Sean?
3, 4.
All in favor? Okay, that's the SS report. Any questions, or do you have anything to add, Sean?
I wasn't at the last meeting, so yeah, nothing to add.
Can I get a motion to accept the FCSS report? All in favor? Okay, committee minutes and reports. Allied Arts. Okay, so we had a couple of meetings actually this week. We did a special meeting to discuss some items and then a regular meeting. So we've had some inquiries about if the big hall is booked, if somebody wanted some small space, is there possibilities? So we are on a case-by-case booking. We do have an opportunity, people can book kind of the foyer, the coat room, and where the food is served. If they needed just a small venue. We were able to reduce the rental of our tablecloths because we have found another cleaner for them. So we've reduced our tablecloth rental to $5. The Ukrainian dance concert was last week. So that season has wrapped up for them. And I believe they have an instructor lined up for the fall, so they'll be back in operation in September. The Elk Point Theater Project is fine tuning. Their performances start this weekend. I believe you can still get tickets just for the performance only. I think they've closed the dinner portion of that, but you can get tickets just to see the play. Willy Wonka Jr. So it's this Saturday, Sunday, and next Saturday and Sunday. The tickets are available for the adult dinner theater, which is Sweet Surrender, on May 29th, 30th, and 31st, June 5th and 6th. $50 for the evening show and $45 for the brunch. Scott Wood's posters are going up. Tickets are $49.50. It's Friday, June 12th at 7 p.m. And I believe tickets, you can pick them up. There is a QR code on the poster, but you can also get them at Elk Point Realty. And they have said that there will be a musical dinner theater for March of 2027. Little Shop of Horrors is what it's going to be. So, and we are reaching out to the county. The county rep is Shane Smith, and we're looking for some gravel to gravel the parking lot. If we are successful in getting that, then we're probably going to reach out to Jay to see if maybe he could take care of the craters and the potholes that are building up in there in the parking lot before we gravel them. And then we also discussed possibly finding out who the utility providers are for the town, just to see if we could get better rate. We were with 8760, but we're not a big enough customer, so they keep pawning us off. And so, yeah, we're just kind of floating around right now. So I'm going to look into that. And our year end, so we were getting things ready for the accountant. And I think that's it for that one. Green.
Wasn't much of a meeting. I shouldn't say that way. I guess we didn't have a lot of discussion going on. We did have a few things as far as a little bit more on the Sonadura, what we're going to do. I believe there's a webinar or a web thing coming up to get final suggestion on it. Believe there was a little bit of discussion about some equipment. Nothing really substantial, just regular duties, I guess, or protocol.
Okay. Community futures.
Community futures, well, all I can report is planning is full underway for the Lemonade Day, which the town agreed to donate to. And did anybody volunteer for judging?
We haven't yet because we don't really know what times. Because there's a day for taste testing and then a day for the actual Lemonade Day. So once we know some times, then we'll figure out.
I have to recuse myself.
Oh, yes, you've got a participant, so. Okay.
And I probably, depending on, exactly where it is and that I might volunteer the judging.
Okay. Yeah, we will definitely keep that on the agenda to get that figured out, so. That's everything? Okay. Monday mayor meets. Okay, I've decided that I'm only going to do a recap once a month. And so I will do it at the second meeting in the month instead of doing it at every meeting. Although I am still here every Monday morning. A concern was brought up about a potential mechanic service working along the street on a regular basis. And it's not safe and it shouldn't be allowed, which we know. We just have to figure out how we can address it because it's been attempted to be addressed in the past and it doesn't necessarily go well. So it's something we'll have to revisit. A resident also brought up home-based businesses and asked, since they aren't paying rent or insurance in a commercial facility, if their taxes should be higher for to the town. So
It's a legitimate thought.
because if you're paying that, for a commercial space, but that's food for thought.
Sorry, can you explain that again?
Well, because, okay, so say I had a home-based business. I'm not paying my commercial building, rent, whatever.
Right.
I'm just having it operate out of my business, but yet people are coming to my business. And so this person felt that maybe the town should have a different tax rate for home-based business people.
Were they thinking like a hybrid, or were they thinking they should pay a commercial tax rate?
Probably a bit of a hybrid, I'm thinking. Wasn't specific, but yeah. So, and then another concern that was brought up was some of the commercial properties that are being rented out as homes. So I've actually reached out to our fire chief here and the regional fire chief in St. Paul and got some communication going as to what we can do regarding, because it's not safe. These commercial buildings, there's not windows like there is in a home. So if there was ever a fire, God forbid,
The owner is able to live in the.
I believe so, but some of these properties are not the owners that they're renting them out. Somebody else owns them and they're renting them out to families. And so, yeah, there is some options. We would have to look at our land use bylaw.
The bylaw for sure states that the owner or his family can live in there. We've had a hard time enforcing that bylaw, and the cost is horrendous to enforce it. We've had one that's been on hold for years.
Does the bylaw prescribe a reaction or consequence?
Fee or fine?
Oh, I imagine it does, yeah, but it costs in the thousands of dollars to enforce it. Cost us, so is it worth it?
Yeah.
And then the legal battle, you might not even win it if you enforce it.
So, food for thought there too.
Wonder if there's another avenue you can go through for that consequence, whether it's, if you give them a fine, maybe you get challenged, but if you can go through another route.
There is other avenues. Number one, the health unit. It can be involved, fire department, fire code, stuff like that. Like there's a lot of different avenues to it, but.
Yes. Probably not an easy task, but something that we may have to look into, because I've also talked to the realtors and there's potential businesses that want to come to town, but there's the people are living in some of the buildings that businesses could be in. So. Okay, that's all I got. There you go. Okay, so I did include the minutes from the meeting. Highway 28 was definitely the biggest topic of conversation. People were mad that the project didn't get listed in the budget. It is an economic driver, and they believe that traffic is going to increase with the development at CFB and Four Wing. And so they were supposed to meet with Minister Dreeshen on the 23rd of April. And they're also going to redraft the letter of support, and they would like all municipalities to sign it, and then they will submit it to the government. Although they believe that 60% of the design is done for this Highway 28 project. They've got some rough traffic counts, but they believe also that safety needs to come into a discussion, because some of it is really bad as far as potholes and,
I believe even the day that we were discussing, there was an incident that occurred. We're very close to the same day. They were mentioning there was an incident that occurred on Highway 20.
with the trucks and the buses, yeah. Yes, you're right.
Could I just make a comment before you go on? Something doesn't make sense here.
Mhm.
Honorable MLA Seer noted that 41 kilometers is scheduled for resurfacing and work is planned for Highway 28 within Bonneville. There's no 41 kilometers within Bonneville.
No, but that's, I believe, between, Smoky Lake and,
Yeah, the notes I had, because which one is,
What kind of says?
or the January? The notes I had just says 41 kilometers is slated to be resurfaced.
for the whole Highway 28 from Edmonton till Cold Lake, there's a portion that's being done, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, 41 kilometers is supposed to be resurfaced. What else? And then they also brought up that Highway 28 should be considered a highway of national defense because of CFB. So possibly reach out to the feds regarding this project as well. You got anything else on 28?
Did you get the response from Minister Dreesen from the NAGO? Because the hub actually sent out an April 20th letter from
We did get, it was in here? April 20th? Yeah, it's in,
yeah, that's the same letter.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I didn't know if I should put that in there, but I thought it kind of all goes hand in hand, so.
It does.
Anything you want?
No, I
to add to
didn't
28?
add anything more. It's just a high priority.
Okay, so right now, Highway 28, electricity distribution rates and healthcare were the three projects that they're working on. And the electricity distribution rates, they're not really getting anywhere, so they're gonna have to come up with a different. They want to postage stamp it for everybody across Alberta. That's not gonna work. So they need to put like an economic development spin on it because we can't get business if there's no power. We can't get power if there's no business. So we're gonna have to come up with some creative solutions as to what we can propose instead of just being, this is what we want. Why can't we have it? And they also say that the transmission is pooled and that they need to pool distribution, but I don't know. And then ATCO customers are the only ones that are really affected by this distribution. And so we need to kind of figure out if we're losing business because of our ATCO rates, or what are we missing out because of, there's businesses apparently that want to leave Edmonton, but they also don't want to pay the rates that we're paying here. And then I think they know, but we need to make cabinet aware of the percent of revenue that North and Northeastern Alberta brings to the province. And I mentioned what business we've lost or haven't gained. And as far as the healthcare, we need to reach out to the colleges to see if they could work practicums in rural for med students. Lethbridge and Grand Prairie are now training doctors, which are probably more rural students, and hopefully then will stay rural. And BC changed some of their legislation. So now they are allowing US doctors to come in to BC. So we're going to get more information on what they've changed and how it's.
They actually have had success in the northern areas where doctors are asking to go up there or, going that direction. So there was changes within BC legislation that now seems like it's been working, and we're trying to.
In areas where they never really could keep doctors, now they have multiple doctors.
Yeah.
So.
Justin.
Yeah.
I guess just going through my sheet just to go back.
Okay.
The only thing that they did was they were talking about the Highway 28 as being part of national security, national defense, because it is the way in and out of there. So it is a high priority on that side too. Sorry.
No,
Carry on.
that's okay. And then people also need to be aware of the fact that hospitals can close if there's not enough lab and x-ray technicians. And so I don't know how many they train within the province, but basically we need to train more. And right now we're training a lot from out of province. So they come into Alberta to get trained and then they go back to their home provinces. So that doesn't really benefit us. And then we also need to work on the retention of healthcare providers. So having said that, RPAP just, and along with the hospital here in town and the school, had a hands-on training for the students at the hospital the other day. So that is part of attraction and retention. So we're hoping that we attract some of these students to go into the healthcare field and then maybe come back to their rural roots. So anything else on that, Tim?
No,
No.
I think that's a good one.
Okay. That's all for NAGO. Water Commission. Jason said he was gonna do
Oh,
that.
yeah, well, I can have something to say during these committees. So yeah, we had our water commission on April 21st. We just went through our audit. We had the same auditors as the town come in, so we got a clean bill of health there. As well, we did confirm Mira as our temporary water commission for the week, so.
Okay. Step.
I would imagine I can report on that one. There's
Okay.
nothing
Different from the,
this one, so it's.
Okay.
It'd be the first of the month, right? I can report on it.
it's good. Burr.
So most of the meeting was kind of a follow-up to the AGM, so updated a few things, looked at how many members we had. I think we were at 62 members. About half of them had paid by that time of the meeting. Talked a little bit about Lemonade Day. But a big push is to kind of start somewhat from the beginning and get out on the right foot. So we're arranging some training for board members, ensure everyone knows their responsibilities. Hopefully things will run smoothly and efficiently. We also, we want to make the business awards something that is, does proper recognition for businesses in the community. So we're looking to make it a little bit of a bigger presentation, whatever that might look like. We've created a subcommittee to start planning that and bring ideas forward. Look at venues, look at, programming. Well, we are looking at a job fair. So we've applied for grants. We're looking at sort of what we kind of want to combine it, sort of almost more like a business expo and job fair combined. It kind of makes sense for our community that we have these businesses. A lot of them need to get their name out, and a job fair might be a little small without, but together I think they complement each other and gets more people involved. Yeah, that's about it.
Good. Okay, Laverne Wilson Public Library. All right, we did this last year. We're going to do it again. How many patrons visited our library this year? Go.
3,565. 2,816.
So define the question. Patrons?
Yes.
Like you can allow recurring, like how many different people came through the year, or is it like if one person is counted as 5?
No, like if I go into the library, couriers don't count if they're dropping something off. But I visited the library, whether I'm there for a meeting, there for programming, there for whatever reason. One person, you're counted once a day. So if I go in twice, that's only one visit.
But if you went 5 times that
Week,
weeks,
5 times.
so about 8,000.
All of them. $11,287.
Whoa.
You guys didn't remember the number last year.
No.
This year's number was 9,292.
As in the price is right, you're over.
He was,
Oh, shoot.
it was 7,400, I think, last
I
year.
remember that number, so yeah, that's right.
So
I'm just optimistic.
we have a very busy little library. So yeah, 9,292 patrons came in, so it's good.
Numbers, that's great.
We are increasing numbers. And people have to remember too, that the library is not just the library for books anymore. There is a whole plethora of things that you can check out. You can get ebooks, you can puzzles, videos, there's all
There's
sorts.
vinyl that they can pull out now.
Yeah,
So
it's not just a quiet time library, you know?
My
So,
wife has to work very hard to keep my kids off the iPads.
so yeah, we do have a very, very good library here in town. So we did have our AGM as well as a regular meeting. So our board did not change. Our treasurer, though, is in her final year of her term. So whether she decides to, extend it or resign at the end of her term next year, but yeah, everybody else has stayed the same. James came from the Northern Lights Library System to do a little bit of a presentation. We did have a couple of our new board members that were there. So he kind of shared how Northern Lights works with all the libraries and the services that they offer and how they save money for all the small libraries. So that was really good. We approved the budget or approved the financial statement for last year. The library tea, it's not the seniors tea anymore, it's the library tea because anybody can go. So over the year, 305 people. Vicki, it doesn't go all summer long though, does it?
We actually did go this year because we have that nice deck.
Okay. I wasn't sure if it took a break through the summer, but you're right. We do have a nice deck.
Yeah, I don't know, I think we missed 1 month, but
Okay.
mostly carried on through the summer
Okay.
because we could.
Right. So over the year, 305 people came and enjoyed the library tea. The summer reading program had 231 that participated. Oh, and the story walk, I didn't write down how many. I think it was 119 people participated in the story walk around town. So those were the most popular events. And yeah, library's not just for books anymore. And one issue that came up that is probably not good for the libraries, people are worried about, is Bill 28. And so there's a little bit of concern regarding Bill 28 and what it outlines for the libraries, but that's it, that's all. Oh, I think I'm next again. End of the day? That is me. Okay. End of the day, we are fine tuning. Our main stage is going to be a little bit different this year. We are having atomic improv for part of the afternoon. We're having a dog agility competition, which we did have last year. And then we're going to have line dancing classes. So that should be a lot of fun. So that kind of takes up our afternoon. We're not going to have the cultural dance. We're not having live music other than, I guess, the line dancing, there'll be music. But yeah, those parts are booked. We've got bouncy houses, face painting, glitter tattoos. We're going to have axe throwing. We're hoping to have the log and the pillow fight, but.
They're having a meeting tonight.
Oh, perfect.
Up there, so Sheriff's gonna ask.
Okay, good.
Will let me know and I will let you know.
Sounds good. The Community Lions are going to be looking after, we're not going to be having the dunk tank this year, but the Community Lions are going to have the high strike where you ding the thing and the bell goes up and they're possibly looking at some other events to host with that. There's going to be food vendors. Firemen are going to have their junior challenge again. lots of activities. And again, we start the date before with the soapbox derby. And we're gonna have a ball game and beer gardens, karaoke, and then fireworks. So, yeah, everything's coming together. Allied Arts is gonna have the potato, oh goodness, pierogi supper. And the riding arena is going to be hosting an event. We're not sure yet what that's going to be. And the Lions, I haven't got any more information as far as the duck race, but is it still in the works?
It's still in the works. We have to have a conversation to, what, time of the day that the committee would, prefer that duck race happen, so we're not, taken away.
You know what?
And that's a discussion we can have at maybe at a meeting.
Okay, yeah, because we have things planned from 8 o'clock in the morning, FCSS movies at 8 o'clock, so it's basically, it's not gonna matter when you plan to have it. If people want to go watch it, they're gonna go watch, you know, so. Yeah, we can discuss that. And was there something else that I was gonna, we are hoping along with the pierogi supper to have some sort of family music jamboree type event at the hall as well. So that we're still trying to fine tune.
I'm bringing out my spoons.
Just as a lot of people have come to me over the last few months thinking, oh, what are all the details for Canada Day? Are we going to have kind of a promotional that lines all this up pretty quickly?
Yes.
Aye.
Yeah, our sponsorship letters are out and I think we're gonna start at our next meeting, we're gonna kind of figure out our timeline and we'll get our advertising posters placed everywhere. It'll be around town, it'll be on social media. Yes, we always put an ad in the paper. Yeah, we get it out there. So yeah, you betcha. Okay, all right, Tim, you're gonna have to help me on the next one, local to.
Already got it out.
Good, give her.
I was only attending I only attended the first and second day. I didn't get a chance for the third day. I'm kind of waiting for Wanda's input on that one. It was actually pretty interesting. There was, on the first day there was a gentleman that, came in from, Texas. He sits with, trying to see the name of what basically he went through how.
Ports to Plains.
Ports to Plains, yes, thank you. So Ports to Plains, so it was basically a description of how things came to be. So, you know, with the explorers coming over and trails, and then you start with First Nations, and then how the roadways were based on that because you needed water and you needed whatever, and bikes were created. So they wanted better roads for bicycles to make transportation a little bit faster, and kind of went through the whole thing. And then he just basically said that back in, I think 91 and 98 were the last of the major road fairs down in the States where they stopped putting money in. Am I correct in saying that? Basically, it became more of the state's problem, not as the United States, but the states themselves. Each one had to budget. So if you wanted to increase a major highway, then that was up to you to develop it. But they're trying to create it so that it gives us another corridor across from Mexico to Alberta to be able to transport, and how that benefits every country and the improvements on it. So he's pushing forward of trying to get another fairway all the way from Texas to Alberta, which would be 41 and 36. So how they want to start developing that. He's been pushing the government there to say, hey, we need to improve this. We can't just keep sitting here because time is going on and we're not keeping up with the needs where we need to be. He said basically I'm not familiar with the names of the crossing where the border crossings are. One of them is a 24-hour. The other one is basically you get there at 6 o'clock, and if you get there at 6, then you're sitting there till 9 o'clock the next morning or 8 o'clock the next morning to get product through.
Hooch, which is, I believe, is the 24, then it's Kicking Horse.
Could be.
Yeah, which is on 41, and they want to make that more of a 24.
Yes, they want to build that. Like he took a picture of, he said, here's the states and here's us.
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
the shacks are quite different and stuff like that. So it was actually really good to hear him and how he wants to connect things and how it improves things. Sky drones, they were talking about that, the Skyways, how that is working in with Hub. So there is a desire to build that up. We do have that within, I believe we've reported it with STEP and Hub,
Yeah.
the drones and how we're developing that and moving forward with it. We should stay on top of that as a group. Right now, they're looking at drones to carry over 300 pounds, 2-hour flight is kind of the thing. So they're starting to build it up and trying to get these things through. So there is still testing that's going on and everything else. NAV Canada has been somewhat negative with it in the past, but they're starting to soften a little bit. So there has to be laws and stuff like that about what's going over houses and where it has to be in certain heights. But also, where we come in as like community bylaws, that kind of stuff we'd be asked to look into.
The Skyway project is pretty interesting in its own right because they have found within the limits of structures and highways, they did have found a route from Edmonton to north of us that would allow drones to come through. And the benefit of that is if you can get something from the city here within 2 hours without actually having to go to the city and back. So people that are hotshotting, medical supplies, a big one, vaccines or stuff like that, even farming end of it, and oil field end of it, if they're needing something for a shutdown, they can get that within. So there's a big market for shipping like a hot shot our way. So it's and they want to push.
Yeah, so it is being looked at. It's being asked to, we are part of that whole thing within our region here. And we're sitting on a situation where we could grow something where we could be the designing group of it. We're the test plots kind of thing. So just paying attention to it and being aware of it and going from there. Where else did I go to here? There was the last one I had on, a lot of guest speakers were really good. I took a lot out of this Manish Kalara, international business strategist. He does a lot of work with India and Japan and stuff like that. And what he brought, and he said that where we need to be to, we have to basically, he said that there's lots of business to be had. There's lots of opportunity. And I think that he's a guy that I'd like to actually sit down with and get a little more information off of to see, because he said there is places that want to do business and want to develop. We just have to get ourselves there at the table. So
he also commented that Canada's population fits in one city in Japan.
We are more people in Canada than in California now. That was
There you go.
years California was more than us, but we're getting there.
Okay, so on the Friday, which Tim was not available to attend, I got to listen to information regarding nuclear energy and the power providers. And my take on the power providers is they basically justify their distribution rates. And I just don't understand that. But anyway, they all spoke. Part of the nuclear energy push, there is a lot of positives in it, but the biggest thing is going to be education. Because people, as soon as they hear nuclear, they're scared.
The stigmatism of it.
Yeah. So there's, it has definitely a lot of benefits, but a hurdle that we would have to get over or get past is policy and, oh God, what is the word I'm looking for?
Regulation or?
regulation, because some things take like 10 years to be approved, and that's just not acceptable.
Things take 10 years to not be approved.
Well, that too. Yeah, both ways, both ways. But the government of Alberta energy demand will double or triple by 2050. And especially with data centers and stuff coming in there. So nuclear is energy once it's constructed. So, understanding people's familiarity, reaching out to the Indigenous communities and public perception are going to be hurdles that they're going to have to do. People want to know it's safe. Nuclear is a federal jurisdiction. Provincial would be the water usage that goes along with it.
Did they kind of go into how big of a project it would be? Like, did they talk about size of project that would be looked at, or?
This is the small nuclear.
There is,
reactors that are.
yeah, there is. Did I write any of that down?
It's a lot safer than the big
Yes.
ones.
They're actually recommending that the province put nuclear into K-12 education. Just so that people understand it, you know, not. It actually takes 10 years to construct, 6 years for permitting, 4 years. Yeah, total 10 years, 6 years permitting, 4 years to construct. So that would have to be fast tracked a little bit. But yeah, they didn't go into a lot of the detail as to the different sizes, but like you can use molten salts for cooling, you can use water, you can use helium, like I'm not that, you would have been better to be listening to that. You would have probably understood more of it. But no, I'm actually really glad that we went to this conference. It was close. It was a lot of information.
I have this just sitting in my thing. If you guys want to go through it, take a look. It'll kind of give you an idea of what,
Plant should be near to river because they need a lot of water.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely need water. Yeah, other than that. With the data centers, though, they're anticipating an 85% load increase on the power.
It's $1 billion project, one project with modular reactor.
That's the idea. I was just trying to get a scope of what they are looking at. It'd be interesting to see where they take it to. Be good.
So why now? Yeah, no, it was basically a lot of people are negative about it, but I think with education and it's a clean energy, it's a safe energy. It's been around Canada it's reliable.
That's the big.
And there's been no incidents, for as long as it's been in Canada, so.
Yeah, like that's the thing. We've had nuclear reactors in Canada for the last 60 years.
Yeah.
The technology's better. Anything that has gone wrong in the past has been proven human error, like 3 Mile Island and then Chernobyl was all human error. And with the new technology we have, it's kind of eliminated any of those risks.
Yeah, redundancy's pretty much.
It is.
And it's again, it's not this massive reactor that you have sitting along the ocean. It would be a smaller version that.
The 4th generation nuclear reactors are almost foolproof these days. And we got to ask a question like you said, tripling the power of demand is going to increase the price of power if we don't do our supply. And so we have, as a province, has to kind of fill up the needs, and nuclear is one of those answers.
Yeah.
We need to, and one of the largest uranium deposits in Canada is just north of us in the Athabasca Basin. So there's a lot of positives for sure.
Yeah.
I'd suggest anybody to go through it. I mean, I thought it was really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was.
Well, thanks for going through that.
All right. Can I get a motion to accept the committee minutes and reports for information?
I can make all that.
Jason. All in favor?
About 10 and 1 I do this.
All right. No correspondence and information, acknowledgements and concerns from mayor and town and councillors. Okay, so here we're just gonna go through our events that have passed. We've had Stained Glass Magic. Some of these are back last month or a couple months. That was at the Elk Point Seniors Recreation Center. They hosted it. And it was taught by Armina Bridgman, Twisted Tree Creations, which I've seen some of her work and it's phenomenal. So thank you for having that. Keep Cooking, a Recipe for Success. The Senior Center provided a welcoming and well-suited location for the April 8th, 26th senior cooking class hosted by Heather from Primary Care Network Lakeland. And a special thank you to the co-op and FCSS for their support in making this program possible. I saw like everybody was having fun. So that's great. Property Plus hosted an excellent Easter coloring contest. So kudos to them for reaching out and having the kids involved with the coloring contest. The Seed Swap was hosted by the Further Education on March 15th. And I believe there's going to be another one, because that day was not very nice, I don't think. March 15th, but I believe in May, I think they're having another plant. It'll be a plant and seed swap. So a total of 21 people participated this year. Some brought seeds to exchange, some came to collect. So thank you to Further Ed for organizing that. Busy Fun Bath Bomb Workshop. The Elk Point Theatre Project, A.G. Rossarina and Pam's Tasty Teas for hosting the Bath Bomb Workshop on February 8th. That would have been a lot of fun. And then the Writing Arena, ropes flew and crowds cheered. I'll put Writing Arena's round robin roping event held on March 13th. Those are always well attended. And Fun-Filled Sunday. The town of Elk Point would like to extend its sincere thanks to the Writing Arena for hosting another yet successful Sunday Fun Day, April 12th. This fifth jackpot at the arena continues to build a momentum. 3 Pee Wee barrel racers, 12 youth riders, 30 in the open barrels, 20 in poles, and 9 futurity competitors. Wow. Everybody's having lots of good attendance. And the Elk Point Youth Council, along with FCSS, organized a Hunt for Gold event held throughout the month of March. So. All right, Canvas, Creativity, and Community Fun. And I think this is where we had our counselor Smaraka participate in the paint night at the coffee club.
Yep, it was great. It was good. It was a good opportunity.
Good times.
Yep.
And then we have the Elk Point Coffee Club along with the Wildflower Way, working together, hosting breath workshops. So those are past dates, but I know there's future dates coming as well. And Sips, Smiles, and Shamrocks, tea event success. The Laverne Wilson Public Library for hosting their St. Patrick's Day tea on March 17th. So, and a night of fun, friends, and community spirit. The town of Elk Point wants to thank the Elk Point Coffee Club for hosting a house party on March 13th. They have those once a month, I believe.
Yep. I know one just passed here.
Yeah. Yeah. It's nice to see everybody trying to be creative in drawing people into their businesses. So congratulations to everybody. Flapjacks and festivities, Easter breakfast pancake success. Yes, the Elk Point Fire Department's annual Easter pancake breakfast was a huge success again. Thank you to the council members that came out to help serve. We were actually outnumbered by the county, but that's okay. It was all good. It was great time. Lots of kids to run around and get candy upstairs. So it was nice, well organized. Another great event. And a cracking good adult Easter egg hunt. The Coffee Club hosted their adult Easter egg hunt on April 6th. Did anybody get out and find some?
Yes.
Did you? Yeah?
Right behind the Oak Point sign, right?
Oh, there you go. Perfect. Perfect. And another creative way to get people involved in the community. And then they also did the Coffee Club did for the kids on April 3rd, so we should have had an Easter egg hunt in the snow for the kids. I did see that in a community in the States. There was 1,500 eggs hid, and there was kids running around in the snow digging for these little eggs, but. And the Elk Point Coffee Club and the Wildflower Way for hosting a Wildflower Sunday. I believe, I want to say maybe they're not every Sunday, maybe it's once a month. It's a session provided a restorative space for community members to pause, reconnect, and recharge through gentle breath work, self-reflection, intention setting, and guided practices for release and renewal. Participants were supported in finding calm, clarity, and balance. So again, in a world where everything's so stressful, that's kind of nice to have. And a mission to Mars, a stellar success of the library. We have Francois Van Heerden is offering several informative astronomical workshops. There's been many in the past, and there's, I think, coming out in the local link, there will be some future dates. And they've been very well attended, so thank you for hosting those. And Sunday final, Dust and Glory with Riding Arena, Sunday Funday Series Finals on April 19th. So that is an event that has wrapped up, and they'll probably be getting into their summer programs now. So yes, always lots of things going on. When people say there's nothing to do, there's always lots to do. Lions spark excitement with draft night. How many, I'm reading here. I didn't pay attention. How many teams?
I had 16 teams.
16 teams?
Yeah.
Good. Sixth annual.
Event there last Friday, so.
Good. Yes, hockey playoffs are well underway.
And just about over for us.
Yeah, shame on you. Be positive. Thank you to Further Education for hosting the Living Well series, which is officially launched its first session on April 20th. The event saw a strong turnout reflecting community's interest in thoughtful planning and personal well-being. So yeah, lots of things going on. Again, keep your information coming. If you've got events you want posted, please get it to the town office, and they will do our best to share it and get it out there. So can I get a motion to receive for information, please?
Go ahead, Dwayne.
Wayne, all in favor? Okay, carried. All right, no council timesheets. With that, I need a motion to go into closed session.
I can make that motion.
Mason at 8:43. All in favor?
Hi.
Okay, welcome back and thank you for your patience. At 9:26, Sean made a motion to come out of closed session. And we just have a couple of motions to take care of. Item A, disclosure harmful to intergovernmental relations, Regional Recreation Agreement Steering Committee, sections 26 and 28 of ATIP. Can I get a motion to receive this as information, please?
I'll make that motion.
All in favor? That is carried. And regarding personnel, sections 20 and 21 of ATIP, also to receive as information.
I'll make that motion.
Dwayne? All in favor? Motion carried. All right.